The morning sun in the small village of Bukoma always came with the sound of birds and the smell of fresh soil. In a tiny mud house with a leaking roof lived Amina, a 17-year-old girl with dreams much bigger than her surroundings. Her family was poor, so poor that some days they had only porridge for breakfast, lunch, and supper. But Amina's heart was strong. She believed that school was her only key to a better life. Her father worked as a casual laborer in people's gardens, and her mother sold roasted maize by the roadside. The money they made was barely enough for food, let alone school fees. Many times, Amina had to stay home because she couldn't afford a school uniform or books. Yet, every time she returned to class, she listened with sharp attention, filling her old, torn exercise books with neat handwriting. She wanted to be a nurse one day, to help people in her community. At Bukoma Secondary School, there was a boy named Brian. He was a charming young man, with a smile that made girls giggle and eyes that seemed to promise a better tomorrow. He wasn't from a rich family either, but he had a way of dressing neatly and speaking softly that made him stand out. Amina first noticed him during a school debate. He was funny, confident, and he looked at her like she was the only girl in the room. Soon, Brian started talking to her after classes. At first, it was small conversations about homework, then about life, and then about love. He told her she was beautiful. No one had ever said that to Amina before. He made her feel seen, special, and important. She began waiting for his smile every morning more than she waited for the teacher's chalk to touch the blackboard. Weeks turned into months. Their friendship grew deeper, and Brian started asking her to meet him after school. She knew her mother wouldn't approve, but she convinced herself it was harmless. Brian told her that love was more important than anything else, that they could face life together. Slowly, her focus on books began to fade. Her grades started dropping, but she told herself she could catch up later. One rainy evening, after walking her home, Brian held her hand longer than usual. He whispered promises of marriage and a good life. That night marked the beginning of a path Amina had never imagined for herself. 2 months later, she missed her period. Fear gripped her heart. When she told Brian, his once warm eyes turned cold. "I'm not ready for this," he said. Days passed, and he stopped coming to school. He stopped answering her calls. Amina was left alone, carrying a life inside her. Her parents were shocked. Her mother cried for days. Her father's silence was heavier than his words. School was no longer an option, she had to stay home and prepare for the baby. Every time she heard the school bell ring in the distance, her chest tightened. She thought of the nurse she had wanted to become, of the uniform she would never wear again, of the hospital she would never work in. The months passed slowly. She gave birth to a baby boy, but instead of joy, she felt the weight of dreams slipping away. She loved her son deeply, but she couldn't stop the tears when she saw her friends passing by in their school uniforms, books in hand. Years later, Amina would sit under the old mango tree near her home watching her son play. She would remember the girl she once was, the girl with big dreams and a future full of light. And though she had gained a child she loved more than life, she had lost something she could never get back. Sometimes, in the quiet of the night, she whispered to herself, "If only I had held on to my books, maybe my life would have been different."